Facebook famously determined that if a new member invited 10 friends within 14 days, they were hooked for life. So they focused religiously on driving the user experience to this key metric. If you apply this product-based approach to B2B sales, then you can identify those users that are ready to talk. And this method is known as the Product Qualified Lead, or PQL. So if you sell in a freemium, open source, or trial model, then the PQL method is critical to give your sales team visibility into who is ready to talk. So talk to your data team, or better yet, partner with Whaler's team of data scientists to develop a PQL model tailored specifically for your business. You'll be empowered by knowing exactly when a user is ready to convert. To see specific examples, go to getwhaler.com/Andy. That's GETWHALR.com/Andy. And as a bonus, if you sign up to learn more about Whaler and PQLs, then Whaler will send you their optimized 2-page master services contract that you can leverage for your own business free of charge. It's time to accelerate. Hi, this is Andy. Welcome to another edition of Frontline Friday with my regular and very special guest, Bridget Gleason. Now, before we get to the show, Bridget and I have a favor to ask of you. We'd really appreciate it if you took time right now to leave a review for this show on iTunes. And while you're there, click the button, subscribe to Accelerate. Make sure you get Frontline Friday automatically each week. Also, we need to hear from you. More specifically, we need your sales questions. I mean, what can we answer for you? What challenges do you have that we can help you with? So go to accelerate.fm/frontline and enter your question there. Each month, we're going to select one listener's question to be the question of the month. And the winner will receive a $50 Amazon gift card. So remember, go to accelerate.fm/frontline to give us your question and maybe win $50. So Bridget, how are you today?
Andy Paul.
Yes.
Fantastic. I'm doing fantastic.
Doing fantastic.
I don't want to disappoint. I'm doing great.
We would all be concerned if you were less than fantastic.
I know. Thankfully.
We'd have to.
Thankfully, everybody can rest easy.
Mm-hmm. It would be a bad sign for the world, I think.
I know. What a devastation.
It would be. I mean, it's a portent of horrible...
of horrible things. Well, luckily,
if you can stay
the world
fantastic
is safe.
over the last year,
I know,
the world
but
is still in good shape.
I know, but let's not talk politics.
Oh, okay. Well, gosh, I wasn't talking politics.
I was.
Everything else goes with it.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's that.
So, I mean, as we sit here recording this, which is about a month of when it's actually going to air, we're in the midst of this huge... I was going to call it scandals. No, I mean, it's beyond that. It's not hardly a half day goes by before some powerful person is revealed to have behaved abominably toward a woman that either worked for them or worked with them or whatever. Is this, not to end the year since our last episode of the year on a down note, but is this something you've encountered in sales? From a customer or prospect? I remember my sister in her first job out of college.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. Multiple times. Yes. Many times. I hear these and I'm dismayed, but boy, am I not surprised. It's interesting. We're hearing so much about it, but it's not a surprise. The floodgates have just opened where people are speaking up and have I guess maybe feeling like there's this window where they'll be believed and taken seriously. And
well, hopefully it's not a window. I mean, hopefully, and that's one thing I was reading about yesterday. Is this a movement or a moment? And hopefully it's a movement.
I hope it's a movement, not a moment. But you don't know. Like, I hope it's a movement and not a moment. But it's not obviously new. I don't think any women are not surprised these are coming out. It's just like it doesn't matter who it is. Yes, it is common. Yes, it's very, very common. Very common. And I know women
customers?
Both.
Or both?
Both colleagues, customers, bosses. It runs the gamut.
Yeah.
Runs the gamut. And I think it's just, as a woman, you kind of always have to be on guard and be careful not to put yourself like in certain situations, and all without, removing names to protect the not innocent, to protect the guilty. I had a boss once where I told his secretary, his admin, don't schedule any time with me ever with him after lunchtime.
Because he drank at lunch?
Drank at lunch. He would want to go out for a drink. Let's go. It didn't matter. Just even if he didn't drink at lunch, it just got into inappropriate. And I just had the rule, don't do it after lunch. Because she would look on my calendar, and there were a few situations like, well, the only time he's available is at 5:00, so he just wants to go have a drink at the Intercontinental. It's like, oh, geez. It only took one time to do that, and I just said, I'm not going to, and nothing happened. Okay, nothing happened at that time, but I'm older, and this happened. I wasn't 25. Let's put it that way. When I was 25. I didn't know as much. And so I would think, okay, well, the boss or the CEO wants to go, I'll just go have a drink. Like, you can get yourself into those situations where now I just know, no, I'm just not doing it after that. I just tell them I'm not available. My calendar's busy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I mean,
it's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I remember my sister, when she first started, after college, her first job in sales, working for a large farm implement company. And her job was to support dealers in, agriculture, tractor dealers in North Dakota, if I remember correctly, and parts of Montana. And it was just constant for her. Young woman, 22 years old, out driving these long distances between these dealerships. And it's just like, the stories were just sort of one after another. So, I mean, it makes you sort of wonder. It's like, okay, as my wife said the other day, she goes, I'm packing it in if there's a story about Tom Hanks.
Oh, I know. I know.
At that point, are there no more heroes left? I mean, it's
so funny. Well, and we probably all have those. We probably all, have those figures. I think the good news is there are some really amazing, very just like everybody's not like that. So as I've had bad examples, I've also had some really exceptional examples of be them bosses, colleagues, customers of the opposite sex, where never had to worry about it. They're just, it didn't matter. And that's kind of what, and luckily there's more of those than the other. And that's kind of what I don't know. I just got used to it and thought, you know what, I'm just going to be careful in every situation. I'm not going to assume ahead of time, and just don't put myself in those situations.
Well,
period.
Right. What a horrible way to have to go through your life having to say, I have to think, as opposed to men who don't have to think about, whether they're consciously putting themselves in a situation or not, or they'd be unsafe. So hopefully, people, if you listen to this, treat people with respect. This is sort of a year-end review show. And, one of the big themes this year, because a lot of this, the big press about this particular topic really started with examples in Silicon Valley this year. Before it hit some, obviously there was, who sits in the White House and some of the early stuff this year after, election. But it's a lot of the big press, things coming out of the Valley, entertainment industry. It's like, it's just hopefully, I said, a movement. And in a few years, we've reached a point where this becomes something that doesn't have to be dealt with on such a daily basis.
Do you know, it's funny when that story first broke, I think the one that sort of, the floodgates opened around Uber. And I was in Tel Aviv at the time, and the CEO had shared it with me and said, "What do you think about this?" And I said, "Happens all the time. Nothing's going to happen." I just said, "Happens all the time." Like I read it and thought, "Yeah, big deal. That happens all the time. Why is anybody going to pay attention now?" So I was very pleasantly surprised. Like he said, no, I think this is different. I think like there's more around it. I don't know why now it's been paid attention to. I don't think people are just speaking up now. Like I think people have spoken up, but I'm not sure why now. I'm super happy it's now, but I remember that coming out and just thinking, yeah, tell me something I don't already know. Tell me something we don't already encounter. So it's just.
Well, I think the great thing in the case of Uber, you know, given that it's an app that sits on our phone, that you know a large number of us have on our phones or used to have on our phones, is I know many people that still refuse to use Uber because of that.
And maybe, Andy, maybe that's why maybe the power that we have as individuals to make noise on social media, to say, no, I'm not, like we can actually affect, like Uber, for example, we can affect what happens with them. And maybe because there's a bit more power that we have collectively with social media and some of these other things, maybe that's why now it's become something where before it was harder to just come together and have a collective voice that had any teeth behind it.
Well, I think that's, as we move forward, I think that's certain things are going to come up. I think we're going to find are also not necessarily in this case in terms of sexual harassment, but what if I think Facebook, Twitter, people that need to take accountability for how their tools are used that could have an impact on our democracy, for instance. Is it, you can almost foresee that there's a movement when people say, look, we're fed up. People are using these tools to manipulate institutions that are really dear to us, and the providers of those tools aren't stepping up to be held accountable for how it's being used. I think this is, we're talking about past year, future years. That could be, I think, a trend in 2018 and beyond. That would be very different.
I just sort of on a related note, one of the requests I get most often is, can you introduce me to a female sales leader? Can you introduce me to a female executive? Can you introduce me to a female? And sort of along the topic that we're talking about,
for the purposes of
hiring them. We don't have enough candidates.
Right.
We don't have candidates. We don't have people. People don't want to do this. There's not a big enough candidate pool. We can't get them. And you look at in light of some of these things, and I know it's not specific to sales, but I think sales does also struggle with often kind of a bro culture, and the language is very male and
testosterone laden. Yes.
And I find myself using terms that I've been doing it for so long, but one of the things that I think about a lot is how do we make these environments, and if we want to just keep it to sales, how do we make these environments ones that women will thrive in? And they won't thrive if they don't feel safe. They won't thrive if they feel like this is a broy culture, and
they're on the outside looking in.
And they'll just say, I'm going to choose something else. I'm going to choose something else that maybe has at least more women that I can talk to or know or be on the lookout. And so it's something that I and you and I have talked on the show about women in sales and kind of what needs to be done, but that continues to be something that is just on my mind quite a bit because I think it can be a wonderful profession, but we still have a ways to go to make it like.
But the data that exists and such, people know I'm a skeptic of sort of easy facts that are presented because, it doesn't oftentimes contain all the variables that have an impact on it. But there have been some studies, data coming out saying that, on roughly comparable terms that they see women perform actually better than men in sales. And if that's the case, even assuming it's just equal, then you're crazy if you're a hiring manager that you're not prioritizing bringing more women into the profession. But
they can't find them.
Well, I know. And so, but what steps they can take, right? I mean, we all have to take some responsibility. I mean, every time, and this still exists, right? We've talked about this before on the show, is somebody's got a job opening and they say we want a hunter, closer, aggressive extrovert. Well, if you're shaping the job description in such a way that, first of all, is completely meaningless in terms of anything that has to do with the success of the potential of the candidate, using terms like that, which I said are irrelevant. But if you shape it in such ways, then you're telegraphing a message to potential candidates that, to your point, it's kind of a broy sales culture. And so there are little things that all hiring managers can do to, not sort of set the stage to be perceived as, this is, I don't want to do that because that sounds very male dominated. Because to your point, I mean, you and I have both been in sales for a long time. It's incredibly rewarding on multiple levels, right? It's not just the monetary. That's most of the last thing you and I talk about. It's just a intellectual challenge, the stimulation, meeting new people, learning new things. Gosh, why wouldn't you want to encourage as many smart, intelligent, capable people as you can to come into that profession?
Well, I think it is a good point to look at our, job descriptions. I think that's a really, definitely an important one. Oftentimes, even when I've had job descriptions that are just more gender friendly, I still don't get a lot of women because they know what the job is. Oh, it's a sales job. Okay, put whatever you want. But still, so I think it's a step. It's definitely a step, and I think it's an important step. But there's more. Another thing that I hear a lot whenever I get the rogue woman, like that'll apply for a job, or let's say it's even on the executive team. Mm-hmm. I'm the only female on our executive team right now, but when we've been interviewing for other positions, if there's ever a woman that gets to like the final stages, she invariably will say, God, it was such a good sign that that there was a woman on the executive team. That made a big difference to me, that there's a woman there, having a woman in a leadership position.
Right.
And it kind of that makes me sad because it's so rare.
Yeah. And well, it's rare. Unfortunately, at least I think predominantly in a lot of startups, the women who are in senior management tend to come from, stereotypically sort of the HR side, right? We don't have enough in sales, marketing, engineering, probably very, very few leading engineering teams. It's a long path, but
but we need to take steps.
We need to take steps, and in sales, we can take the easy steps by, as you said, have gender-friendly job descriptions, going above and beyond to try to bring women into the sales force. Especially if you have entry-level jobs, is bring people in, train them up, give them an opportunity to succeed. And I know it's hard, so even now, right, with sort of the inside sales culture that exists, as you said, it tends to be heavily male oriented.
It does. It is, and
doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be.
It definitely doesn't need to be. And I think just having that mix. There's one area of our sales that I always tell them, this is like bro row. Mm-hmm. Okay, and you guys got it. Let's get rid of bro row. And there's a woman in bro row. But I tell them, it's you guys, it's annoying the way you behave. Like, let's cut this.
Right.
We're never going to get, female friendly here. So we also have a lot of discussions about it. We have a lot of very open discussions about it. And I just think the mix is what's important. Having, if it were all female, I'd be saying, why don't we get some men in here? I think it's the mix that makes it so rich and so powerful.
I agree. So this is going to be sort of a shorter episode. So I wanted to move on to something else and not, I think, important topic. But
good.
Just sort of sum up the year is, what memorable happened for you in 2017? What are you looking forward to in 2018?
Well, I think memorable in 2017 is I spent a lot of time in Israel in 2017, and that was extremely memorable. Memorable from just the culture, memorable for me learning and embracing a different way of doing things and a really warm people. And it just, I think for me, it was super, super enriching. And being part of this company, Logs.io, moving to Boston, there's just been a lot about this, like the changes. I had a lot of changes in 2017 that have been just amazing. Like, it's one of the reasons that sometimes change is hard, but embracing it and then trying to extract the good from it. Right. It's been a really rich year.
Yeah, I mean, I would I would say, to your point, you say sometimes change is hard. I think change is always hard, but embracing it, as you said, is what enables you to extract from it the pleasure, right?
Yeah.
You make changes for a reason. Some of us do, right? I mean, some people are more forthright and aggressive, perhaps, about seeking change, but I don't know. I think if you're in sales, change is a constant, and so you better embrace it. Otherwise, you're going to be left behind.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with it. So I would say that's, kind of everything around it, just the job and what entailed in a new team and a new country and
very cool.
Living in a new city.
Again, for the second time.
Living in a new city, round 2. Yeah. V2.
V2, Boston V2.
Boston V2 has been great. What about you?
It snowed yesterday here in New York on my run.
Wow.
One of my life's favorite things is either running in a tropical rain or running in the snow. And it wasn't a
wow.
the
really?
Snow, it came down for like 4 blocks. So like from 3rd Avenue to 5th Avenue, which people are going to say, that sounds like only 2 blocks, Andy. But in New York City, we've got Lexington and Park in between 3rd and 5th, and Madison as well. Right. So Lex Pack. So, it's just like a couple clouds had snow on it. And I was sitting there trying to pull my phone out while I was running and film it very unsuccessfully. But life is good when it snows when you're running. So, for me, 2017, I think one of the cool things business continues to grow, forming some new partnerships with people, launching some new ventures. That's been a lot of fun. We've got this new Sales Leadership Accelerator Mastermind group that I'm partnering with.
Sounds amazing.
Jocko Vanderkoy with, partnering with somebody new. You sort of got always a risk. But, in this case, two extremely compatible personalities, so very different. And
because I know both of you, I can say super different personalities. And I think that the compliment to each other is going to be amazing.
Yeah, I think so. And
really amazing.
Yeah, and getting to know, somebody new, it's like, almost like, long lost brother type thing. So I think, the partnership, that's really cool. That's new. Brought my son into the business to work for me and work with me to help launch another new venture we're launching early next year. That's been fantastic. So a lot of interesting things sort of keep it fun and keep us motivated, new ventures. And hopefully, a lesson for people that listen here is, I'm closer to the end of my career than the beginning, as people might have realized, but that, there's always new, exciting, interesting challenges to take on.
Yeah.
And, I was talking to a friend of mine, I had dinner with him a month or so ago, and, he's talking about starting to plan retirement and shut it down and so on. I'm like, he's not at retirement age, but he's sort of planning ahead, but scaling back. And I'm just like, he doesn't get me. He looks at me and it's like, I'm doing more, right? Taking on a lot of new things. And for most of my friends, they just don't get it. For them, it's like, I'll start winding down. For me, I'm just winding up. So it's exciting, and look forward to 2018 for big things. So
yeah, I think I'm forever winding up.
Yeah, I'd much rather be winding up than winding down.
I know. Someday I always say, I'm going to do less. I just don't think it's in my nature.
Well, so it's, what would I do with myself? So
that's the question.
I think one of the things about being in sales, part of what got me in sales, was being just hugely competitive.
Yeah.
As my wife will attest. And, not that I feel like I'm competing against anybody other than myself, just to, continue to expand and broaden my horizons and learn new things and do new things and challenge myself. It's, that's what keeps you young.
I hope so. That's what I'm counting on. Although I keep getting older, which is a bummer.
Well, yeah, don't pay attention.
Okay,
to the
so
calendar.
I'm trying to stay. I know don't pay attention to. I think I told you this already, that I went to see a new dentist here, and he had said something about, God, sometimes I look in the mirror and I'm still expecting to see the 30-year-old. And I see this other old person looking back at me in the mirror. And I look at it, I'm like, oh my God, that's me. That's me.
Oh,
I laughed.
What I see in those cases is I look in my eyes in the mirror, and what I see is the 18-year-old me hidden saying, let me out of this body. I'm still here.
Exactly. Let me out. I can totally appreciate that.
All right. Friends who listen to this show on a regular basis, or even if you're just here on occasion, hey, we really appreciate your support. It's been a fantastic year. We're going to kick off 2018 with a bang, and hopefully you'll join us for that adventure as well. So, Happy New Year, Bridget. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year. I look forward to 2018.
All right. We will talk to everyone on the flip side.
All right. Take care.